Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to Idle Footy Chat. On this edition, I'm once again joined by the one and the only Logan. How's it going?
Yep, good.
Excellent. Back to talk about your favourite subject in life. New football manager out though, so I'm surprised that you're even entertaining real football whilst that's being played.
On a complete side note, I've had to put it down for a bit. It was annoying me.
What? Footy manager?
Yeah, I get to points on it where it's like no matter what I do, I lose. And I'm just like, go fuck yourself. You're getting shelled for a little while I do something else. Honestly, the problem is you think it's going to be the same as last year's, and it never is. So you just get your tactics and everything together, and then you just start losing. You go, well, this worked last year, so why? Anyway.
What's this? That's the first time I've heard you that annoyed about it, in all honesty.
I am really annoyed with it at the moment.
Well, I kind of need you to be on there getting those future stars for this football index we've been ploughing money into. So
I'm slowly working that down as well.
Winding down the portfolio.
Yeah.
Is it too much stress?
It's not stress on there. It's just not that I expected to make a big buck from it, but it's not kind of what I thought it would be. I don't like the way that everything on there. So if I want to go and buy someone who's completely unknown, there might be £3, but Diego Costa's sitting there at 90p. I'm just like, it's not based on anything real world other than.
Well, yeah. The trouble with it is, and that's something I thought initially. Like Fellaini's like less than £1, and then you got Drew Yearwood for Southend like 2p cheaper. You think, well, how's that working? That's not. But it's essentially based on hype, isn't it? And press more than ability.
Yeah, it's based. Yeah, it's supply and demand, and the popular ones obviously go up in price. It's not.
Well, you got that Pogba fucking topping the charts sometimes in price, and I think, well, has he really been playing well enough to warrant toppling Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, people like that? But because he's always in the fucking news waffling or getting mentioned, he's a very expensive player to have in your portfolio.
Yeah, so I might come back to it at some point if they change the scoring metric. I don't mind. It's a bit of fun, really. It's not. Unless you're putting in a load of money, it's not. You're not making money from it. But it's. I need to reevaluate it. It's like, can I really afford to sit on Lewis Cook for 2 years until he becomes an England national? Not really. So.
Well, they've checked actually recently. In fact, today, as we record this, they've gone live with a new. I don't know why we're talking about football index, but we will anyway. For those that don't know, it's essentially a stock market for football players, and there's various payouts you can get. We won't go into it, but to take a look at it if you're interested. I think you put it right. It's more of a side hobby than a money-making scheme. Obviously, there's people out there that make a load of money on it, but they're putting a lot in. I think for me, it's just something to. It's something better than fantasy football because I lose track of it and I ain't interested after 3 months. This at least keeps me a little bit engaged with what's going on in the football world. But just today they've gone live with a new dividends matrix. So for goals and assists, that's still being retained. But I think midfielders are now included, defenders and goalies for clean sheets. So over the last 24 hours, there's been a surge in goalkeeper prices because now they've got some skin in the game for the competitions, but I think they'll get there eventually. There's different ways you can play it. You can play it for those dividends. You can play it for, like you said, with a Lewis Cook and sit on it for an amount of time hoping it'll go up. But it's one of those things, really. It's not to be taken overly seriously. But obviously, you are playing with real money, so just don't chuck a load of money into it. We've got to talk about England and the couple of games that were taking place last week and at the weekend just gone. Although, depending when people listen to this, it might be a week or so old. Good to do it backwards because there was a friendly against USA, which ended up being Rooney's farewell game. But there was also a very reasonably important match with England v Croatia at Wembley. The essential facts were if England were to win, they would top the group and go into the semi-finals. If they drew with no score, they would stay as they were. Croatia would be relegated. If it was a score draw or Croatia won, Croatia would go through. They would be above England. England would get relegated. So there's actually quite a lot on the line. I mentioned several times that I don't agree with this 3-team structure, but I didn't know if make it exciting, to be honest, in a lot of the groups being only 3. But England come out on top, 2-1. Now, you was actually out when the game was on. Did you manage to catch up on what had occurred?
Yep, and watched the highlights.
Excellent. So you know exactly what went on. My view of this game was, and I thought, well, it feels very much like this semi-final again. There was a few chances in the first half. England didn't capitalise. Then Croatia stung us in the second half, and I thought, well, here we go again.
Yeah,
that's another just annoying defeat to Croatia. But to be fair, in the last 15 minutes, England rallied, got 2 goals. Lord Harry breaks his little Baron run he's on, and England win 2-1. Pleasing all round, surely.
Yeah, so as I say, I didn't actually see the game, but I spoke to a few people afterwards, and I read some match reports.
Didn't ask me, didn't value my opinion.
I knew I'd get it on here, so I didn't need it. Apparently it was a bit back to the wall at times. We created some chances, but were a little bit wasteful. But overall, we sort of come back into the game and come back strong, I think. By the sounds of it, there was a lot of pleasing play, and it showed a resilient side to England. So we knew they were resilient from the World Cup.
Yeah.
But I guess what we'd never saw is that little bit of ruthlessness or that ability to come back from the brink, for want of a better term, and actually win a game. And obviously against Croatia, I think that exercised a few demons as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a bit of a not a strange side really, because there's a few injuries and whatnot. Gomez playing instead of Maguire, but Gomez has looked very good, so he may well retain that. And maybe it'll be down to Stones and Maguire to battle it out. But I think one of the surprise additions was a Fabian Delph in that midfield. The midfield three of Dyer, Barkley, Delph went for 4-3-3 again, with the 2 rapids on either side of Kane. But Delph to me seemed like a surprising inclusion. Watching the game, I was really surprised at how well he played. Like, for me, he was on par to get sort of man of the match. I think Harry ended up with it in the end because he got the goal, but that was promising to see that for a man that's only started, I think, 4 games this season in the Premier League. Seeing someone like him come in and play really well. Well, typically, if you saw that on a bit of paper, you'd go, "What the hell's Delph doing in there?" I know you probably thought that when you saw that lineup.
I do wonder about Delph, but he's one of those players that he seems to be able to do the basics well, which you'd probably expect of any footballer. But I think
they can't do it, can they? They complicate things.
It's like you see with Pogba. You think if you just play it simple and do what you need to be doing, then you'll play better. But he loves those Hollywood balls and to outside of the foots, and everyone loves the ambitious ball. But he just gets the ball, keeps ticking it over. He works really hard. He's got good positioning. You can tell that he's been coached by Pep Guardiola. Yeah. And I think he's definitely, like when I used to see Delph years ago play, and when he was sort of started getting called up to the England squad by Roy, I was always a bit sort of like, he seems like a bit of a workhorse, but I don't know what he's offering really. But he definitely looks like a much tidier player nowadays, and he seems to be a really useful option for us. I don't really know what he's really good at or where he sits in the side, but I thought he gave us a little bit of link between the defensive midfield and attacking players. So
yeah,
I think it's good to see him playing well, and I always like it when players like that come out of nowhere to surprise you. Especially, I think he's about 28 or 29 now. They're raving about him at Leeds. He was supposed to be up and coming at Aston Villa, got snapped up by City, and sort of just fell into that pool of talent they've got. But I suppose it's the biggest compliment to him is he's still in that Pep Guardiola side. So he must see something in him. His versatility, his attitude, and any player, basically any player playing in that City squad that's English should be in that bloody England team. That's really how it should be, because that City side's a joke.
Yeah, that's probably where Stones gets his call-ups from. He's now forming quite the partnership at City and playing a lot more games, so long may that continue. And obviously Kyle Walker lurking in most games also. Trippier was injured in this particular one, which is still, I think they're still up for debate, that position, in terms of, because we did suffer with deliveries. Chilwell, Mr. Whippy as you call him, he put
that was the only one he put in.
The one in the 85th minute that Harry Kane latched onto and scored from, all the rest were dog shit. And I was like, if you're going to do that, get King Ashley and get him on, because he'll have to put those balls in. But he's obviously past his sell-by date, according to Gareth. But has Gareth managed to navigate out of what was quite a tricky competition? Because there were people saying England can't beat big teams. They got an easy run to the semi-final. When they come up against any opposition that was stiff, they crumbled against Croatia. They've now beaten Croatia and Spain, and got through to the final four of this UEFA Nations. Is that something? Does that show some form of progress to you?
Yeah, I think it does, and it's. I'd be more reluctant to say it if we'd have done it by just sort of sitting back and getting a few goals in the break. Like if we'd have done it in how we'd played in the World Cup, I probably would have said we've kind of lucked it a little bit. But I feel like the style of play's evolved. We've got some players now coming in. I think that the playing squad's evolved. I think it's still focused on youth, but it I don't know. It just feels like a much more exciting and dangerous squad than the one we had in the World Cup.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we were quite critical about how. Well, I say critical. This has been hypercritical because we did do very well in the World Cup, but we were very one-dimensional. We were relying a lot on set pieces. The players that come out of that first 11, you weren't really too. We were looking at it and going, who are we going to bring on to change that game? You sort of looked at the bench, and it was sort of all much for a muchness. But I think now when you look at that bench, we've got options. I really like Jadon Sancho.
Yeah,
I think he's done better than I thought he would. Yeah. Callum Wilson, I think, is the Jamie Vardy replacement. I like Chilwell at left back. He's surprised me. I'm
scared of him.
In what respect?
I don't know. Just something. It's like Pickford. He's still, as much as Pickford was a hero in the World Cup, I wouldn't want him playing week in week. I wouldn't want to watch him week in week out because he'll do something bizarre. And Chilwell himself, I think, steady, solid. I think going forward, there's potentially a better option with perhaps Shaw, but he's not done anything wrong. And I guess as a defender, first and foremost, in my brain, as playing in that position, don't fuck up is the first thing.
So don't get it wrong.
Don't get it wrong, and then you can't. Anything else is a bonus, really. So maybe it should be just accepting that he's not. But yeah, I mean, you're right to mention the bench because we brought on Dele Alli, Jesse Lingard, and Sancho in this game. Three pretty well-established players. Sancho obviously not very raw, but he's playing very well in Germany. That's a very good bench to have, isn't it? If you're chasing a game, to have those sort of players in there. Must admit, I don't really see Ali as an impact player, but he came on and we got 2 goals after he'd come on, so he was obviously operating in some respect there.
Yeah, I think before we get too into tactics, but I think one player at risk in this England side is Dele Alli.
What's he doing for Spurs? What's he been doing? I ain't been watching him.
He's got 1 goal all season.
And there was me fretting over my fantasy football team, trying to get Sterling out and get him in potentially.
Yeah, the biggest mistake.
Luckily, I didn't.
I think he's now trying to. Basically, he's gone from sort of playing as a second striker and being a threat with his. The one thing that Dele Alli's very good is he's off the ball runs and the way that he pulls defenders and his movement is terrific, for want of a better term. But that is a really underrated part of his game that he does well. He's not the quickest, but he'll get into the key positions and he's definitely more of a threat further forward. I don't think we've got that place for him at Spurs, and I don't think we have at England either. So I'm a little bit sort of wondering about how his game's going to evolve, I think, over the next season or two. But I think if you're looking at your bench and you're going, right, I need to sub off a Jordan Henderson and I need a goal scoring midfielder, and you've got Dele Alli sitting there, you're going to bring him on every time. So I think he's a great option to have, but I'm not sure, especially when Oxlade-Chamberlain's back, I personally don't think he sees him as a starter in his side. No,
and that's compared to the World Cup where he was a shoo-in, other than when he was injured for those couple of games. That's quite a big transition, isn't it? In less than 6 months.
I just think he wants. he clearly wants mobile, quick, technical players. Dele Alli isn't the most mobile and quick. He's not a great passer of the ball either. You won't see him whipping a 60-yard ball or generally threading through. That's not his game. So I just don't know if I think he'll always be an impact sub or a player coming off the bench when Gareth's got his first choice 11. But if Dele Alli now goes and scores 5, 6, 7, 8 goals in the second half of the season, then it changes his mind. But it's as I say, we've got good problems rather than bad problems at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Barkley started, so he's obviously been impressing in the games that he's played. Much more to say on him, just other than hope, I guess, he can keep it up at Chelsea and retain his place, and hopefully force his mate RCL to get in as well.
Yeah, I think that's. We've had a discussion about RLC and Barkley, and it's always going to be one or the other. I think. Yeah. I still don't know what Loftus-Cheek's game is. He's a big lad. They all say he's good with the ball and stuff.
Stick him up top, target man. Bang.
I don't know. I want him to go out on loan. It would have been good if he'd have gone to like an Everton or something this season, or a Watford or one of those sort of teams, rather than just being in that relegation fodder. Bloody Palace have actually been playing quite well, but I don't want him to go there. I just think you don't want to be working under that owl. You want to be under a more progressive manager, I think. They ain't playing the sort of way that I think suits Ruben Loftus-Cheek that well. I think City clearly play. Palace play on the break. I don't know. I just don't. That's a place to drain talent, I think, rather than make it. When I see what he's done with Max Meyer, we're getting off subject here. I'm having a little rant against Palace, but I just think you don't want to be chucking the youngsters there and hoping for the best, because Roy don't know what he's doing.
He's proven that of the England setup, so yeah.
But I want him to go out on loan. He needs to get out of that Chelsea side. I don't think Sarri really fancies him at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. We look at it looks like Sterling and Kane and Rashford are the defined front three for competitive games. Should Sterling and Rashford be looking over their shoulder at a Jadon Sancho, who seemingly has impressed everyone, his cameos that he's had, and also starting against the USA?
Yes.
If he's playing the way he's playing in the Premier League, he's already knocked one of them out. I guarantee it, because
Rashford. Because Sterling gets in.
I would agree with that. I just think that he is still a little bit disadvantaged being over in Germany, because it's like every other week. It's like, he scored again. It's like, what is he doing out there?
Yeah, but one player that's going under the radar at the minute is Reece Nelson, who's also another Englishman out on loan at Hoffenheim. Yeah, who's doing ridiculously well, and I think he likes to come in off the left. And I think Gareth name dropped him over the last international break, so I think he could be the next one that he brings into the fold if he keeps up his form. But that's an option on the left hand side as well. So I think out of all of them, I think generally Sterling's been playing on the right, and Rashford cutting in off the left, and then King Harry up top. But
Harry ain't got a threat, is he? No threat for Harry.
Well, no, he's there, isn't he? I still think I don't see, unless Raheem Sterling has a massive drop off in form and finds himself at that City side. I don't see him being dropped from the England team. So it's basically, I think Rashford's the one that's most at risk. And I think he played really well, didn't he, against Croatia? But it was one of them where he'll beat two players and then can't get a ball in.
Yeah, it's a pain. It does. It's one of those things where it reminds me a little bit of Valencia. Like, he'll get to that point of crossing it and then just fucking hammer it, which works. It does work sometimes, because it just fucking screams across that 6-yard box and you've only got to nick it and it'll probably go in. But it's obviously, when you're a wide player, sometimes you've got to be able to just slow it down a bit and try and pick
a good bloody ball in.
Yeah, and if he's really wide, you wouldn't be trusting him to whip it in a la Bex. Well, no one could do that anyway. But it was it's one of those. It's a tough one because he's a forward really, and it's difficult, I guess, to be shunted out wide. But he's just not going to get that forward place in England or probably at United because not to be trusted apparently, and perhaps doesn't quite offer enough outside of running past players, holding it up, things like that. He needs to work on that part of his game if he wants to play more centrally. And it's one of those things. And like we said with Jose, he's probably not the man to be doing that or developing that area.
I like Rashford. I think he's a really good player. But is he that good at finishing? I can't reach. You know what I mean? So his finishing I find erratic at times, but sometimes he'll slot one in and you go, "Core, how's he got that in?" And then sometimes you'll get through and go and you think he's going to slot that, and he'll just smack it straight at the keeper or something. And you go, "Well, he's just." But he's only young, so is that? I think probably at his age, Harry Kane was still out on loan at bloody Millwall, so it's really hard to be too critical. But I just want him to. I just want a little bit more end product. He's good enough to do it. I think that's the point. Is he's not just a fast pair of legs. He's got ability. It just annoys me that he's just not. I don't know. I just want him to produce something. But then Raheem Sterling for England, his end product is non-existent as well. So is it being cruel? I don't know. But I think it'll be interesting to see how the team evolves over the next year. I think there's a lot of good young players that could be challenging for starting spots.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that totally. Looking at the UEFA Nations League, they're now going to a semi-final which will take place, I think, in Portugal in the summer. So if they win the semi-final, they'll be into a final. If they lose, they'll go into a third-place playoff, a la World Cup syndrome over again. Switzerland, Portugal, and I've just scrolled past everyone, and Holland are the teams awaiting England. Dare we say, can England in the current form and setup could beat any of those teams on their day, providing they turn up?
Yeah, I think you'd have to say so. I don't think that Dutch side is as fearsome as it used to be. Albeit, I think they've got a lot of good young players, but I don't think they're quite there yet.
I had a stinker of a group, really, though. France and Germany in theirs, although Germany fucking 2 points on the board and nothing else. Have they gone down the shit, man?
They're broken, them Germans. You can't really take anything from that. And those French bastards are still trying to come back from winning the bloody World Cup.
They're all pissed up still.
Yeah. So, no, I don't take anything away from it. They're not a shit side, the Netherlands, but I don't think they're not the Robben, Van der Vaart, Van Persie threat that they used to be.
No.
Not too long ago, they were starting bloody Vincent Janssen up top. So tells you everything you need to know. But I think we're capable of beating those. I think if out of all of them, we'd probably want Switzerland, wouldn't we?
You say so, yeah. You'd say so on paper. They're the ones to be aiming for, but ironically, they're the ones that finished with the most points in their groups. But then they had Belgium in their group and Iceland. Belgium certainly no pushover, as we've seen.
How is Iceland getting in?
Well, yeah,
it's ludicrous.
I mean, perhaps my free team approach and mine. Like I say, it's not worth it. It should be 4 teams. When there's the likes of Poland are another one that are in it. Iceland and Poland are probably the 2 standouts. And if you look at who's going to come up into the next form, it'll be Ukraine, Sweden, Bosnia, Denmark. So, yeah, you'd have to say that. And I mean, that's the trouble, isn't it? I mean, this is the trouble with any sort of competition at international level. There is a bit of a drop-off point, and this is to weed out, I guess, the consistently good teams against the toot that keeps blowing it. If Germany can't get out of League B in the next one, then they're definitely broken. But they won't know for another 2 years. But yeah, so we're into semi-finals. If England were to do the unthinkable and win it, would that mean anything compared to? I mean, it's hard because it's the first time this competition is going out to a final level. It's I think in a couple of decades this will actually be quite a prestigious trophy to win. because it's just happened, everyone's a bit like, oh, what is this shit? What's this? It's complicated. It ain't complicated. It's a group. It's a group stage with a knockout tournament at the end of it. You've all been watching it for the last 25 years. Stop making up shit all your life. But would it mean
3 teams in a group? We haven't seen that before.
We've discussed it. Wait for the World Cup in America. I think they're reverting more teams, 3-team groups. So
it's the way forward.
Well, it's not so bad when you play each other twice, but when you play just 2 games, I think that it's
unforgiving, isn't it? It's unforgiving. There's no 2 ways about it.
You got to hit the ground running. But yeah, would winning the UEFA Nations League mean even being the same, stratosphere as a Euros or a World Cup, or is it always going to be seen as a secondary, or you're not even saying this? People are like, it's not worth anything. Crap.
I don't think it's going to. The problem
it's a harder competition because you're playing the top teams in quotes twice, then going to a semi-final. You don't just get put in with Bosnia and Iceland out the bracket straight away. Mm-hmm. You could argue the competition's a little bit more fierce. It's
harder to. You'd probably argue it's harder to win. It's really difficult though, because if you're Belgium, you're not playing necessarily against a Spain or an Italy, or
no.
As you say, you're playing against an Iceland, and all of a sudden you find yourself in with a chance. I don't know. I think that for England, winning anything is progress.
Absolutely.
Can it at the moment be classed as prestigious as winning a World Cup or the Euros? Not at the moment. But I think, obviously, when the Euros started, whenever they did, I'm sure it was less prestigious than the World Cup. But you don't see anyone balking at it now. So as you say, in a few years' time, or 10, 15 years' time, I suspect it will be a prestigious tournament to win, the same as held in the same breath as the Euros or the World Cup. But I think you haven't seen teams filled in weekend lineups for it like their friendlies. They're treating it as a proper competition. I think you've definitely seen how much it matters to the England players getting through and beating Croatia. So yeah, I think it'd be great for us if we won it. I'd certainly be bloody celebrating it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the Euros, for example, which is the easier compared because it's the UEFA Nations, and that started in 1960. There were 4 teams in it. It started from very small, beginnings. It wasn't until 1980, they got 8 teams. Then in 96, Euro 96, 16 teams, and now we're at 24 teams. So, it's starting with every nation's team in it to start with, and we've just been playing well enough during this period to be drafted in League A to start with. So, I think people that are like, it wouldn't mean anything, just need to shut up. and fucking enjoy it.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. A competition's a competition, and when you take away the name of the competition, you're still playing the best teams, and you still need to beat the best teams really to win it. So if you've done that, then you're worthy. So I think I definitely think it's a good start. I think getting rid of international friendlies for the most part is a good thing. You don't hear all these players dropping out, and
you got Klopp moaning.
He's going to moan though, isn't he? He's one of them. He's just intolerable. It's like the thing is, you see Pochettino developing
half his squad goes. He's put bloody Gazaniga in for about 3 games and started Foyth in 2. They're up in their Argentina squad. You don't see him going, bloody hell. He's going, well done. Enjoy it. That's it. You don't hear from him for 2 weeks. Aye.
That's the way to do it. But yeah, I think for the football fan it's good. And for us as fans of international football, it's even better.
Absolutely, yeah, because the qualifiers will start off early next year and then continue the following season, where you play pretty much throughout the majority of that, and pray you get through. So this does offer a high level of competition and something to proceed. And what's to say in 20 years' time or 30 years' time, this isn't looked upon as joint with the Euros in terms of importance.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes time for things to develop. So
yeah.
being the first ever winner, there would never be one of those again. So everyone's been taking it seriously from what I can see.
Yeah.
And it's creating proper games of international football throughout the calendar year. So
excellent. All round positive.
Absolutely.
UEFA do something right. Unbelievable.
Wow. I don't know if they can be trusted in the long term, but for now they're doing all right. Wind back very quickly to the USA and England game. England run out as 3-0 winners. You did see all of this game live and exclusive on Sky Sports, which I'm sure everyone across the country enjoys, not being able to watch England's successful period currently if they haven't got Sky Sports. But he named quite the... Not a second string, but there was definite changes in there. Trying players out like Keane and Dunk, Alexander-Arnold got a run out, Sancho got to start, Wilson, Lingard, Ali, all that good stuff. Much to take from the friendly result. I mean, we know that USA aren't typically up to much, but you've still got to dispatch this toot if you're going to put the game in.
Yeah.
Well, we can get all cocky now. Finals of the UEFA Nations. Get rid of the toot.
Yeah, they're not. USA teams have been okay over the years, and they pose a threat. These
fucking drew against England in the World Cup. Remember
ridiculous. That? Yeah, they're just nowadays. They got no Dempsey, no Donovan. They've just got toot really, haven't they? That's it. They've got no one. They've got Christian Pulisic, who is their best player, who's pretty much synonymous against England. But it was a useful run out. It didn't feel too much. It didn't. Well, until Rooney come on, but it didn't have too much of a friendly vibe about it. I thought it was a good competitive game. I thought it's always difficult to take too much out of it, but I thought Alexander-Arnold played well. I was getting annoyed with Wilson because he was just. I kept texting, just going, he needs to wake up.
He was asleep, then snatching.
There were times when the ball would come to him and he was just sort of like looking around him. It just wasn't really dropping in the right places, and I was just going, wake up, get alive to it. But he got his goal in the end. I think it was an okay performance. I thought Chilwell and Alexander-Arnold did really well at fullback. I really like Alexander-Arnold, but
potentially got two players in front of him, isn't he? But he is very young in comparison, so his time will come.
I think he could easily, especially in a back four, easily overtake Trippier.
Can he deliver that? Because delivery is king from Trippier.
He's got a good cross. You can't take that away from him. But I always question. Well, he can't header. Defensively, he's a little bit suspect, and he's not as mobile up and down as Alexander-Arnold. I think that you got to weigh it up against your opposition, I guess. If you want the athleticism and the youth, then you go for Alexander-Arnold, or, well, obviously if Walker isn't available. I think all day Trippier gets in ahead of Walker and Alexander-Arnold if it's a back three. But I don't see us going back to that, really. I think that's done with. So it's probably the end of young Kieran getting linked with Real Madrid in the summer, down to getting criticised at Spurs for leaving 1/4 in the fucking bins against Palace.
Get him on Football Index. If he's getting linked with moves like that, his price will fucking shoot up.
He was. I saw that in the summer. I thought, Real Madrid, all he's done is put in a good couple of crosses. Is that all it takes?
Scored a free kick.
Yeah, well, he did that as well. And he was on corner duties. I was thinking, bloody hell, they're desperate over in Spain. But I think what it does show is that we've got good options. You know, Lewis Dunk come in and did all right. He didn't really have to do anything, though. I think that's the point. It's always difficult to judge him because what am I judging him on? That took up front for him, who's offering nothing. Although they did have George Ware's son. Yeah,
Timothy. He was lurking. I don't know if he's actually any good. And there's a lot of hype about Pulisic as well.
Links with Liverpool.
They had a couple of chances. There's a bit of a fuck up at the back between. I can't remember who it was now. It might have even been Duncan Keane. They got in a right old state and let someone in one time. But in the end, it didn't matter. It was 3-0. This is the big contention of the match. It's kind of overshadowed the build-up to it was that Wayne Rooney would come back out of international retirement for one last game as a farewell. Media and fans alike seemingly giving it a lukewarm reception or towards a negative. Any player you spoke to who currently plays, not that fucking bitter old cunt Shilton, was supporters of this as well. All the current players in the setup said it was a good thing to do. I guess you kind of have to if you're in the camp. You can't sit there and go, no, I disagree with it. It cause a right fucking mess, wouldn't it, for Gareth to clear up. But what was your personal view of Rooney coming out to take part in this friendly, say goodbye, and nearly get the fairy tale ending with a goal, but didn't quite manage it?
I'm a little bit torn on it, really, because I'm very much for the thought that England caps should be earned, not given.
Given out. Is fucking Lewis Dunk getting caps now?
This is the thing. I'm sort of... Has Lewis Dunk really earned it? I mean, he's done all right, but it's just through... The only reason he's there, probably the same with Keane, really, is just a paucity of options. So, as you say, with some of the two that have got caps over the years, does it really matter whether Rooney gets one more? Probably not in the grand scheme of things. And then I thought about it and I thought we don't really honour players in the same way that other countries do. And you have to say that Wayne Rooney, over the years, has been a great servant to England. He hasn't. He's never moaned. He's never said anything controversial. He's always turned up and he's always tried his best. And he is our record goal scorer. So, he did get eased out by Southgate.
Yeah.
Quite unceremoniously. There was a friendly against the USA. Wayne Rooney plays in America. Is it the right thing to do? It probably is, and everyone gets to clap him off. But it just kind of, friendlies are there for preparation and to try new things out and formations and ideas. And going back to Wayne Rooney for 25 minutes isn't really offering anything, is it? So it's a difficult one, but. We could draw a line under it now and move on. All I'll say is I don't think it was Gareth Southgate's idea.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that as well. The way I look at it is that whose time did he potentially snap up? We got to see Callum Wilson and Jadon Sancho start. I think they were the two ones who, may have missed out. And Loftus-Cheek might argue and say, I perhaps would have wanted a few more minutes than what I got, but. Yeah. Overall, I don't think it's harmed anyone who was in that setup.
No.
Callum Wilson got a goal, got to start, got to come off and have that ovation. And yeah, you're right. We don't honour players. And Rooney himself, for whatever reasons, always had a negative connotation attached to him, usually from fans outside of the United camp. I don't know whether it's just he played for Manchester United during a successful period or... for some reason I always just see people don't seem to like him, and perhaps there's reasons that I have not seen. I know he once did snap a little bit when people were booing him for England, and he got a bit stressed of that, but before all that he was never really liked. And I think had it been another player, had this been Alan Shearer, for example, 20 years ago, people would have been loving it. I think it's just because it was Rooney, people had a problem with it, in all honesty. For whatever reason, I don't think people like him.
Yeah, he's not hugely popular, is he? You'd probably have to say that. He's I still think all that business at United with him and the contract and the handing in the transfer request and then all that stuff, I think left a bit of a sour taste in United fans' mouths, definitely, but probably some other fans across the country. And I don't know, he's just not your archetypal athlete either. So I think there's a couple of things there and obviously his private life isn't perfect. He's had a few little bits and bobs, but I think generally he's been. Oh, I lost my bloody. Dropped it. I generally think he's been a good player for England. He's been a good servant. I don't know why he isn't that popular. I mean, you look at someone like Harry Kane, who's now the nation's hero. Almost.
I know what it is.
What's that?
I don't know what it is. I think because he came on the scene a little bit late, but he was like the messiah for that golden generation. Once he broke through in 2004, the expectation was in 2006 will do very well. Okay, in 2008, didn't even fucking get there, I think, in that one. But especially over those years with the likes of Gerrard, Lampard and Rooney, for some reason he was always put on the pedestal slightly higher than that he will one day become essentially Messi or Ronaldo of these days. And he never did quite get to that point. And I feel like a lot of people think, they look at that golden generation and he's the talisman of that, and they see it as a failed period in England's international play, and he's the biggest name there. People don't like to get on Gerrard's back, do they? Or to Lampard's back. They're a little bit more likeable. And I think they get away with it. And I don't know, I feel like it is because part of that is due to the failures of the England team from pretty much when he started until he ended. It wasn't a great period for England and the national team. He was the main man. So who easier to have a negative connotation with is the guy that you've kind of put as your poster child for that generation and hasn't quite dragged them over the line.
Or so would you say that it's because so for example, Harry Kane, top scorer in an international tournament already. His second one. Wayne Rooney, I don't think he scored hardly any. I don't think he scored 6 across all the tournaments he played. So maybe there's an element of that in there as well, that there's a feeling that he didn't turn up for the bigger games or turn up for England when we needed him. Yeah,
no, there's definitely that argument that he's the top scoring, player for England, but in tournament football, probably one of the lowest in terms of appearances and whatnot. So it's definitely, it's not like it's unearned. But yeah, there's 10 other players on the pitch that can chip in with goals, and it's a bit of a shame, but it's done now. He's got 120 caps, 53 goals. That 53 goals will take some beating, but I think if we look at Harry, if he can prevent these sort of 6-7 game barren runs from happening, keep taking those penalties, hopefully he'll get there, because I'd like to see that broken. I really want
35 caps, 20 goals, isn't he?
Yeah, something along those lines.
He's never going to earn 120 caps, though, I don't think.
No, probably not. You wouldn't have thought, but that's you have to break in when you're like 17, 18 to do that. So maybe we've got to look at Sancho then in 20 years' time and go, right, get Shilton off that pedestal, because he ain't going to accept it otherwise.
Get him off there.
I was getting scared when Bex was like getting close. He was started piping up then. I'm like, you should be like. What I loved about Bobby Charlton was when he broke the records at United and then for England, he was always there to deliver the trophy or the congratulations, and he seemed genuinely happy that his record was broken for England. I don't think Shilton will be doing that. He'll be sitting in his little manor somewhere, fucking fuming.
What's he doing there? He doesn't deserve it. Oh, shut up, you old goat. Ridiculous. The only reason Shilton got there is because fucking Banks got blinded. Otherwise, he would have been there. Tell him that. See what happens.
You can play when you're in goal as well for about fucking 50 years as well.
I read the other day that he was still on a subs bench when he was 45.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
What are you moaning at other people for when they're 33 for playing, when you're still lapping it up at 45? Unbelievable hypocrisy.
He did love playing into his old age. Briefly, we'll move on to the Premier League. I actually haven't got a lot to talk about in the Premier League, to be honest. City are top by 2 points. Liverpool second, then Chelsea, then Spurs, who have overtaken Arsenal, regained that full spot. Arsenal going on a barren run of 3 games drawing, which has kind of put them off the pace a little bit after a good run of consecutive wins. United flapping as usual, a decent little run, and then ran into City. Relegation. Fulham looking as dire as they have in
Super Claudio though.
That's true. Claudio Ranieri installed. Can he get that sack of shit off the bottom of the table and get them to fucking score? Because they've been struggling getting these goals.
Well, they've been struggling getting goals, and they've been struggling to not concede.
31 goals, 12 games, 31 goals they've conceded. So that's
I think that is just so diabolical.
The thing is,
they bought Schürrle, that Argentinian Vieto. They got so many attacking players, like what you'd probably consider good attacking players. But again, I read something the other day, and apparently they had one of the worst defences in the Championship last season, or it was like a mid-table defence or something like that. And then they basically have brought the same defence up, but brought Fosu Mensah in. It's like, what, is he the one that's going to fucking make that into a Premier League defence then, when all the others are took? What are you doing?
Yeah. So, it's a mess down there for Fulham. Huddersfield, terrible scoring record. I was listening to Sky Sports stand, I'm sure they said in the top 5 leagues they're 98th in terms of like lowest goal scored. That's actually the lowest across all the 5 big leagues. So scored the least amount of goals across Europe. That won't be doing them any favours, that's for sure. But yeah, the Premier League itself not a lot's really developed other than City widening their margin by 2 points, which isn't a great deal. There's some interesting games come up. Spurs have got Chelsea on Saturday evening, so that'll be an interesting one, because obviously if Spurs were to win, they would go above Chelsea and go into third, which would propel them into sniffing on that title. But it's still a very long way to go. The top 3 teams still haven't lost, which is mad. So 12 games in, no losses. The one thing I did want to bring up and talk about actually falls outside of the football itself. Mm-hmm. And it's about this Richard Scudamore, Premier League chief, Premier League executive. There was a proposition put together to essentially, and for those that don't know, I think he's been in charge of the Premier League for since '99, so a long old time. The net worth of the Premier League is gone shooting through the roof under his management. I think it's the richest kind of sporting, or at least football league in the world in terms of TV rights and commercial appeal. So commercially, it's doing ever so well, the Premier League. He's been making fortunes of money, millions of pounds a year, all sorts of bonuses during that. Yeah. And then there is a proposal put together, driven by the executive at Chelsea, who's on like a panel of advisors, to say, let's give him a send-off, 5 million, 250k per club, and you can have a nice £5 million bonus, whilst Wakefern Rec can't even fucking have enough money to put pitches together. Why is there money being poured into this fucker's back pocket when he's already a multi-millionaire? And the grassroots state of football and lower league football is struggling. Is this finally the last straw in terms of it is all about money in football and there's nothing we can do to get it back? Used to be the working man's game, remember? Yeah,
that's what it started off with. And a lot of the people, really, when you look at it, like you and I are working people as well. We're not, we're not middle or upper class. We're the ones.
Well, that digital money's kind of propelled me into a different. I won't say what bracket, but the amount of money we'll make off this is insane. So.
It is ridiculous, isn't it? I can't believe that was necessary. I mean, I can only hope that one day when I leave my company, Digital, that I get a whopping great big thank you payment as well. I mean, it just, I get annoyed about it when people leave work, right? They've been working there like 4 or 5 years or something, and they do a whip round. And I go, why am I doing a whip round? Why am I having to put money in for this cunt who's going? He's earned money. He hasn't been doing it for nothing. It's not a charity. Going down for all that charity. He's been getting paid money. He's been getting paid a salary. He's decided to leave to do something else, retire, whatever it is. Right, go. I don't be needing to give you a present for that. And if the company wants to, they can pay for it, not me. And that's my thoughts on it. It's the same thing with Scudamore. Right, you've been doing it 99. Well done. You've done a good job. Well done. You've got paid for it, haven't you? Quite handsomely, I presume. See you later.
No.
I just don't understand. And it's not even like it's a couple of grand. 5 million quid. 250 grand per club. You're having a laugh. Ridiculous. Oh, yeah. There's so many more things it could have gone to than that rich bastard already. It's just... Yeah. That's my thoughts on it.
No, I'm in total agreement. I think it's a disgrace, really. I think it's now changed. So each club aren't going to put 250k, and that was the initial proposal. I think 16 out of the 20 agreed to it. A few said, well, hang on a minute.
I bet you Daniel Levy ain't been giving £250,000 away like that.
Well, I think he was actually one of the supporters of it. So
they're all greasing each other's palms, aren't they? Honestly.
Well, the thing is, it makes me laugh that the Chelsea executive was the one sort of driving this. He's got fucking Abramovich sitting there giving him money over fist. It's like it was mainly the newer teams, like the guys that just come up from the Championship, were a bit like, hang on a minute, $250,000. What are you?
I ain't got a pot to piss in over here, and you want $250,000 off me? You're on a lark.
Yeah, they've changed it now. So now the $5 million will be paid, but it will come from a central fund over the next 3 years. And apparently all clubs are kind of accountable for that central fund. Makes you wonder what the fuck's going on sometimes when there's central funds between the clubs just sitting there with oodles of money. But
mental, isn't it?
It's still a disgrace, really. I mean, I know he's done an excellent job if you look at the commercial side of things, but you could arguably say that's, as we've discussed many times, that's one of the things that really certainly bugs me about the current game at club football is it's all about money. And
I don't know how much he's got to say in that. I mean, you look at the point in which the Premier League started to really kick off or whatever. Like, you'd probably say it's still not low key or whatever, but you'd probably say that it's level pegging up until, I mean, even in '99, the Italian teams were running riot then. Parma and those sort of were paying ridiculous money for players. So you look at when it changed, you'd probably have to say it changed when Abramovich come over and he started playing money in. And then the wealth in the Premier League from there, the new owners and all that sort of stuff just kicked it. It just sort of got to another level. So you probably have to say that it was more that's taken it. It's the wealth in the game rather than Scudamore being out there. But you'd probably have to say that the rules have been probably relaxed a little bit or changed to allow foreign owners in. So I don't know, maybe I'm doing a little bit of a disservice, but I don't think he's the one sitting there creating all the advertisements for the Premier League worldwide. I think it's a product. It's almost like a product that sells itself. Isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the actual the worth of the broadcasting rights, 97 to 01, it was 670 million. 2004 to 2007, it was 1 billion. 2000 they've got, what the fuck have they done with the years here? They've really cocked this up. Anyway, it's basically stayed at 1 million until 2007.
Yeah.
And then it went to 1.7 billion. Sorry, billion we're talking now. 1.7 billion. Then in 2013, 3 billion, and then 2016 to 2019, it's worth 5 billion. So you're right. Since '99, it was, it went up. It's not like it has gone up, but the real growth has happened in the last, fucking 6 years or so. When perhaps there's more money than ever being poured in. But I don't know. I just think it's appalling, but. The money does run the world, and Scudamore can go off and do whatever he wants now. Nice little departure bonus of £5 million funded by your beautiful clubs in the Premier League. So
money attracts money. And the thing that fucks me off is, do you know who's paying for that, really?
Fans.
Well, fans, yeah. You and I.
Sky.
Yeah. Really, that's the most infuriating bit about it. Is that if
all those ticket prices fucking rearing up for the fans that go every week, and they're chucking money down the pan on this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just an example, isn't it, of money going to money rather than making it cheaper for the average man or woman, or it makes it more expensive, and instead the average man or woman is funding him. And as I say, it's not like he hasn't got any money; it's just making the rich richer and the poor poorer.
And that's the end of it.
What
a sombre note to go out on. But
England were good, though.
England are good. We still have faith in the international scene. Less meddling and money. I'm sure there's corruption at UEFA and FIFA still lurking. I'm pretty sure I know there is, but at least it's not run.
Can't see it.
At least you can't see it, and you can't just fucking go and sign players for 6 million or 6 million. What am I talking about? 2010, 60 million.
Yeah, that's more like it. Yeah.
And buy your way through us. The reason why international football will stay on my radar, and it wouldn't surprise me if one day that somehow comes down to money that you can buy permits for players, and it'll be some bullshit like that. But for now, I'll enjoy my international football, club football. if ever there was a sign to say that it is the money game, that was it, and it's really got my goat. But we'll still watch it occasionally, and we'll be keeping you guys informed about what the goings on are in the Premier League. Don't know when all the next England games kick off, if I'm honest. It's not till next year, so probably it for a little while, unless something major happens for Idle Footy Chat.
Yeah.
But I think our next podcast will probably be, this is outside of Idle Football Chat, will be Red Dead Redemption 2 review. I think I'm getting to the business end of that, so perhaps by this weekend I'll have it completed into a state where I can review it, and then next week hopefully we'll get a review up for that. I know it's been a long time coming, but it is a fucking big old game and a very good one at that. So I'll make sure you've got to do it justice. But nothing more for us to say though, apart from thanks for your time and ta-da.